I was my race results.
Constantly varied, high intensity functional movement at Bravo domain.
CrossFit, for pros and cons.
Like, oh shit, this is actually hard.
The thinking is what I need to put myself out there.
This is the very first Arsenal Health podcast. I'm sitting here with an absolute dog of a human being, Rich Ryan, entrepreneur, DECA world champion previously, elite HYROX 15, top 15, new father. Right, endurance coach, all around dog of a human being. And I've been in the space for quite a while. I creep on, I've been dinosaur when it comes to this. And I was creeping at your social, man, when we first found out we were going to be doing this podcast. And I have to say, dude, what I've seen from your training seems to be incredibly insightful. You seem very like systems and process oriented. And I don't want to... Hopefully this is the only time in this podcast we'll talk about age. I'm 44. Yeah. Obviously, you're in your late 30s, but you've been doing this for a very, very long time. So kudos to you for taking great care of your body, man. And I want to dig into some of I don't want to talk about everything just technical today, because I want people to know who Rich Ryan, the person, is as well. But kudos to you for being a pillar in the community. Looks like your systems are really well. You've done a great job of taking care of yourself. Do you want to speak on that real quick?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like mentioning the age, I think that is just going to have to be part of the conversation because that is where we are, right? Like we are still trying to see how well we can perform as we are aging, as things are changing, right? And from what I've found, HYROX is new, so it's like hard to really tell where the ultimate ceiling is, right? Like if I was doing this 10 years ago, like would I be exponentially better because of the age thing? But over the course of the time that I've been able to compete in this like avenue, I've been able to get better, right? I'm 39, very late 30s. You said late 30s, I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
It's very late 30s. So yeah, it is just part of the conversation, right? And I think that most people who are coming into this are coming into it later in life and are going to have these things that they're going to need to help their longevity and their ability to continue to improve themselves. So it's an important part of our convo.
It is. No, I agree. And I guess this is our first podcast. And just for some background, we're really throwing this thing together. Rich, I appreciate you showing up. The working title for this, kind of when we sat down and jammed out the other day, is The Other 23. And I think with the focus for me as somebody who's been doing this a long time, especially more as a coach than an athlete, but I'm more interested in, we spend about an hour to 90 minutes a day in the gym, right? You probably spend a lot more than a lot of others. But how are we leveraging the tools and lessons that we learned in the gym and then express that in our everyday life, right? How are we using the tools and lessons that we learn in the gym to have the most physically fulfilling, mentally fulfilling life imaginable? Because that's, I've run through, I've been doing this a very long time. I've run the gamut of everything from OCR, strongman, powerlifting. I have a very long career, not a very storied one. It's not very interesting, but I've competed in a whole lot of stuff. And I've just found it's fascinating to meet other people who've also been in the space for a long time and just kind of jam out on some of the lessons and tools that you've learned in the gym. Obviously doing this a long time, you don't do that without developing some serious skills, lessons, and some character along the way. So I kind of want to dive into a little more of that today. But as a Elite 15 athlete, as a new father, entrepreneur, there has to be some pretty serious tension between like lifestyle and performance, right? Where are you at right now with balancing that? And I know we'll get into, you said this last training block, you've been faced a little adversity, right? How are you currently balancing that tension between being this absolute, let's use the term hybrid rock star, right?
Misnomer, not true. It's not true.
But, right. How are you balancing that with fatherhood, with being a husband and the entrepreneurship? Like, how are you balancing this all right now?
Yeah, like I find that the training, the performance, it is kind of a gateway for me. And I feel like this is the kind of like, if I'm going to approach what I'm doing from a mission standpoint, like it translates to other aspects of life, right? Like if you can put your mind toward a goal and be systems, process, like you mentioned, and just kind of have a pursuit to be great towards something, not only will you accomplish great things in that one line, but it splinters out into other aspects of your life. So for me, when it comes to balance, like I've kicked around this a lot because I think about how the other competitors, it might be singularly focused, right? It's like everything they do is like HYROX, recover, like prep, do everything that is just sport and competition. But for me, the balance kind of comes when I feel like it's like a rising tide lifts all ships type of situation. Right? Like if I feel like I am excelling in one area, that gives me confidence that I can do it in the other area. And it kind of feeds itself, right? For me, when it comes to training, the training sparks the thinking, and the thinking is where I need to put myself out there in terms of like the content and the coaching to try to have like some thought leadership in this space. And I can't do that without pushing the boundaries, without like testing things out in training, without learning from people like you. Like that wouldn't, like the coaching, the support of my family, the being the father that I want to be, like none of that would be at the same level if it wasn't for the training. So I kind of think of it as it's all tied together, as opposed to being like, man, I need to spend this many hours here, this many hours here, I want to do this, I can't do this. Like there are certainly trade-offs, but it all works in tandem for me. So I know that having that aspect of something I'm passionate about and pursuing it is just going to just be super helpful across the board.
Sure, and let's talk about that passion. And my thing is this overarching theme of chasing edges, and you have to have something, to find something that aligns with you, that you give a fuck about so much that it will allow you to access the depth of what it takes to achieve at a very high level in that one thing. And it's those lessons you learn, because if you're not truly committed to something, you get into it, you put on the costume, you do the thing, and then you're like, oh shit, this is actually hard. So my question to you, if this edge you're chasing is HYROX, why HYROX? Give me some backstory into what got you in this position. Why HYROX?
Yeah, like it was, it's fairly fortunate that this has come around even when it did. Like it's definitely at the twilight of like my athletic peak, but I'm still getting a little taste, right? Like if this happened 5 years later, I'd be like, oh man, if only. So I was a collegiate runner. I ran high school in a pretty high level, ran Division I, track and field and cross country. And then came out of that like feeling burnt out from straight up running, straight up endurance. Had like an okay experience as a collegiate runner. I didn't have my act together the way that I should have. So like I did not feel that I was able to express my full potential there. So coming out, I was still interested in health and fitness. My first job that I got out of school was at a gym. Not like nuts and bolts trainer stuff. I was just working the front desk, man. People would scan their key card. I'd be like, hey, your credit card's expired. Do you have another one? They'll be like, yeah, I'll get you next week, buddy. But I was in the gym. I was in the fitness space. I was started to lift it a little bit more. Found CrossFit around 2011, and then was doing CrossFit, and I loved the competitive outlet there. And that was really my introduction to like the strength and conditioning world, right? And then that opened up everything, right? Like because of the methodology, the broad domains, like the whole thing. Do you know the CrossFit like?
Dude, if you would have seen, people don't know Beau Ryan from 15 years ago, right? Beau Ryan 15 years ago, it looked like Reebok threw up on me. I was just short of the bacon socks. Everything just short of the bacon socks. So like broad but domains. I've been doing this since the Jurassic era as well, man, like 2009. So,
nice.
So I get
that's
it.
Really
I get it. Yep.
Yeah. Like what's the they have like their manifesto. What's the language that they use? Like broad domains. Quickly,
hold on. Is this a test?
I know you know it. I know it's in there.
Yeah.
Patrick, you know it?
Something across broad time and modal domains. Constantly varied high intensity functional movement at broad domains. Boom. Yeah. That was the ultimate $1,000 shirt for about a decade, dude. You wore that thing with pride, and no matter what, Reebok made that shirt. It looked like your little brother's shirt. Because the moment you would wash it, it would cinch up this way like a crop top, and the sleeves would tighten up. I wanted to think I was getting bigger, but it was just a cheap ass $1,000 shirt, man, let's be honest.
So like that whole thing, right? Like CrossFit, for pros and cons. The pros for me, right, it introduced me to a whole world of training, right? When it was Olympic lifting, strongman, powerlifting, like all the aspects that it does have, like the gymnastics, the skill set was great. Really opened up my world. But I still really like running, right? That was my passion. That's what I really like doing. So I never fully committed to CrossFit the way that I would have needed to if I wanted to be a competitor, right? I would need to put on 30 pounds of muscle. But I was still into the running aspect. So I was kind of training for like these like hybrid fitness races without there really being an outlet. I found Spartan in mid-aughts, I guess, like 2015 I probably started doing that, and I thought that was going to be like the answer, right? I was like, okay, cool, like this is strength and endurance But like at the end of the day, if you do the ones that are like on the mountains, it's like trail running with a little bit of grip strength.
Sure.
There's not really that like output that that I was like wanting to express. And then 2001, when HYROX came into the United States, I was like, that's what I'm doing. I just like knew it as soon as I saw it. I was like, I've been preparing for this. This is what I've been waiting for. And so it was just like a natural fit right into it.
I love that theme of your love of training and you doing it for no reason other than the fact that you love it. And the skill set, the time under bar, for lack of a better term, and the experience you got, and then the timing of HYROX, it was like, oh my God, I've been doing, this is everything that I already love, and now I get to go do this in an arena and potentially be a total badass at it. I love that, man.
Very fortunate.
I love that, but it's like, I'm a huge fan of following your curiosity. And that's where I'm at now, just kind of exchange. I don't compete in arena events anymore. I did my first Tough Mudder, I think was like 2007, when it was like this wild thing and they still actually zapped the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And people were, you know, getting carted away in ambulances and hypothermia. But it was all of the training that the culmination of 15 years of being in the gym. And I'm not counting the 10 years of me not knowing what the fuck I was doing when I was 150 pounds, eating honey buns, trying to put on weight. But I was still in the gym doing the thing, learning. And then now going from a 150 pound kid that got made fun of for the size of his arms to now being literally the guy that puts food on his table, being the strong guy, wildly different identity, especially when I was doing strongman. So I'm a huge fan of, I followed my curiosity in the gym for a long time, and I'd never thought I'd end up here as a career. So you following your curiosity with your love of running and physical expression, and now HYROX comes around, and it's like, the timing's beautiful, man.
I would love to say that it was like all planned, that like, you know, if it was 5-10 years ago, I'd be like, yes, where I'm going to be is here. But like, so fortunate just to have been able to, I don't know, like I struggle with like taking a risk, right? Or like, because it was just the only thing that I really cared about. So to me, it didn't feel risky, right? I was like, I'm just going to apply myself in this world because I can't really do anything else.
I want to dig into that for a minute, because as somebody who's been in strength and conditioning for a long time, and you said you've been in the gym space, I remember early on where as a coach, an athlete, people were like, oh, what's your real job?
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, like I'm following I actually love my life. You know, I may be broke as shit, but I could also say that the less money I've had, the easier life is, because I have less opportunities to go spend money and go out to eat. Dude, the most broke I've been, are also some of the fittest I've been. You run into like these luxury problems. But so it's funny seeing it on the other side, to where, how was that for you when you're just in the gym space? You're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. Like, I'm following my passion. Did you get any pushback or negative feedback from doing that by social circles, friends, family? I know I experienced it, but it's just, with all of this stuff comes a little baggage, and people don't realize having even worked with professional athletes myself, the sacrifices that are made, what people think externally when they're looking, oh, it must be nice to work out all day or any of this other shit. Right. It's like, people don't understand there's a serious opportunity cost and level of sacrifice that comes with this. So did you experience any of that when you were not an elite 15 athlete, and the belief of like, oh, maybe I could actually turn this into a career and be like I could be the guy. There's a shot I could be the guy. What did that look like?
Yeah, I can't say I really did experience anything incredibly negative from like my immediate network or from outside. I was never like a high performer when it comes to like school. I don't feel like I got a good education. I never got good grades. And when I was stuck in situations that I didn't want to be in, I was miserable. Right? So like I had jobs that were more traditional, like 9-to-5 stuff, going someplace, like punching the clock. And I think the people around me just saw how unhappy I was, that even though that might have been a safer route, that be like, yeah, well, it have benefits and say paycheck, and there's upward mobility, whatever, the whole talk track. I think the people around me were just knew that if I was there, I wasn't going to be enjoyable to be around, and I wasn't going to be happy with who I was and what I was feeling like, right? Because as much as we are not our jobs, right?
Yeah.
That is still very important part of to me, and I don't know, just like in the culture of where I was brought up, that like I wanted to feel fulfilled in what I was doing, right, and not just and not being miserable most of my life. And I was just worried that was what it was coming to, and it was kind of like bore out that way, where I was just like feeling so bad about the life I was living, that being broke, being on the grind, like pursuing something that I felt like I had that was valuable to others, was just like so, it just exceeded whatever feeling of like safety and security that came along with it. I remember so I was working one of these jobs that I had. It was like a marketing job. It was a cool job. I really liked it. But I met a guy who, he said he was a running coach. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then like he walked away, and I talked to my buddy who knew him a little bit more. I was like, what's he mean he's a running coach? Like, what else does he do? Same kind of question, same kind of touch. He's like, no, I think it's like his full-time job. I was like, that can be a full-time job? Are you kidding me? And that is really what kind of sparked the whole thing. To then kind of go out on my own, like learn a lot, like train people in person, across like group, one-on-one. I did some boutique stuff, and then it was just trying to build like the online thing. In the meantime, it was a real hustle. But in those moments, like you said, like I was so happy to be in that grind. I was so like, the best days for me then were like, I just worked 12 hours. I'm exhausted, like, but I'm like doing the thing.
Right.
Like, I don't know if it's gonna work, but like I feel fulfilled in just like being on this grind. If I had to go back to the grind, it might be a little bit different. Might feel different about it. But back then I was like really happy to be like doing that.
Yeah. So with that, talk to me a little bit about kind of the identity shift between being a college athlete, and when we spoke previously, you said you had dealt with like some self-limiting narratives of like maybe not being deserving of being the guy, or you mentioned you felt like you didn't have an exceptional education or anything like that. What was the identity shift like from being a college athlete to now? And I've worked with a lot of athletes, both in sport and then as their transition out. Was there any type of identity shift or feeling of like being lost? Like when you come out of college as a collegiate runner, you're like, what now? Like who's Rich Ryan if I'm not doing this thing?
For sure.
Did you tell me about anything you struggled with there, or even currently now as being a father and balancing that tension between being an athlete and a husband and father?
Yeah, that's a really hard transition, right? And like I said, we're not our jobs, but like I was my race results. That was who I was to myself. That was the value I thought that I presented to people. Was like, oh, that's the fast dude. He wins races. He does this. Like, and if I didn't win those races, if I didn't get those results, it was just like a very negative, which ultimately hurt my ability to perform well. And so that shift has been like a realization of like, it's like, why am I not performing the way that I want to? It's like, because if I'm not going to win a race, like I don't try as hard. You know? So like that idea of shifting out of that was like really challenging, and it did hurt my results across the board, and everything. Because again, the way that spoke about in the beginning was like the performance fuels everything, and if I wasn't performing well, like I wouldn't perform well anywhere else. Just like it hit my confidence so hard because I just thought like, this is who I am. This is tied to my identity so much that if I'm not excelling, then like I'm not valuable.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's taken a long time, and just like understanding why I'm doing this now, and as opposed to just being like, I need to be the best. Like I need to be in the Elite 15 just for my own, so I can sleep at night. That just like isn't sustainable, isn't the best. Like it's really strong fuel if you are the best.
Yeah.
But when you're not the absolute best, like it's really poor fuel.
Yeah, we say it's a very dirty burning fuel, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately you run that engine and that fuel long enough, like anything else, it gets toxic. So how has that shifted when we spoke? And again, I've creeped your Insta, and dude, I was in here. I've been coming down to this location for a couple weeks now, and I'm training my clients, and there's just this dude over there with an assault bike and a wall ball, just hammering away, and it's so. And I was a team sport athlete. Like I said, I'll kill myself for other people. But as far as me training on my own, I do 50Ks and ultra because I can go as fucking slow as I want. But when performance is really on the line, when you're competing, individual athletes, it's a very different type of mindset that you need. But reflecting on those performances as an individual athlete and creeping on you, you're a student, dude. And everything that I've seen in you, it's learning, it's iteration, it's curiosity. So you have this love of progression. Where does that come from? And how are you, because that, to go a little Yoda with this, that means you have to have some level of awareness in your training, right? So what are you looking for in your training that you're currently trying to progress? And then even like what problems are you trying to solve now?
Yeah, no, progression is like very process. I have this word that I always come back to is like pursuit, and like just pursuing like the next evolution, the next piece of this whole thing. Right now, when it comes to like HYROX in particular, the problem I'm trying to solve is like the muscular endurance under incredible like systemic fatigue. There's a couple different avenues when you think about HYROX, right? Like if you want to make it as broad as possible, it's like aerobic capacity and muscular endurance. If you have those things, you'll probably be able to perform fairly well. Like you can do the race, you get through it. But now when it gets to that tip of the spear, it's more like anaerobic threshold, how long we can hold that, how fast we can operate under that, and then being able to put out at a high level in the stations, right? So now it's like, how fast can we do things? So I've done a good job of building that anaerobic threshold, being able to hold this like high output for a long time. But where things have kind of fallen apart is being able to go faster in lunges, go faster in farmers. So like the work that we just did, right? A lot of the things that I put into my kind of like accessory training is trying to work on movement quality and just like efficiency. We talked a lot about tendon strength. We talked a lot about kind of like being athletic and like finding free energy where there is free energy. That's what I'm really interested in right now. And like being able to be strong in many different positions and being able to express that under fatigue is really what I'm trying to dial in right now.
Yeah, so those are the problems you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Because it's at some point when you get to that level, it is really is a game of margins, right? So where are you finding those edges? Obviously, where I want to focus on the other 23 hours. Where are you finding those margins when you're outside the gym? Like whether it's recovery, stress management, nutrition, supplementation, hydration, like where are you tinkering on when you're outside the gym, when you're not in your training?
Man, where to start?
Yeah, let's dig.
So ultimately, right, like the recovery piece comes down to sleep for me. A lot of it's fed a lot of different ways, like nutrition. If my nutrition's on point, if it's off point, then my sleep is not as good. So like making sure that's right. But right now, because my sleep is interrupted, we have a 7-week-old. She's sleeping fairly well, but she's getting up 2 or 3 times during the night, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm getting enough sleep, but it's just like broken up.
Sure.
And what I found is that getting back to sleep is really important. And for me, being able to control my mind in those moments is like really, really helpful. So like one of the things I focus on now is just like mindfulness, like making sure like that I can quiet things down when things get too loud, too heavy, like that I can like really kind of bring things back and calm down to sleep well. So
and what adjuncts or interventions are you doing to actually, because obviously you have the awareness, you know when the rumination or the stress kicks in.
Yeah.
What is your tether that brings you back into, hold on, we need to chill this out?
It is practice. Like I find with mindfulness practice, that is just, again, something that strengthens. So like trying to do it daily, and as crazy as it is, like to sit down for 10 minutes and do nothing, it's really hard to like even find time to do that. Even though you're not doing anything, it's really easy to steamroll that time. So being protective of that time, trying to do it every day, if not every other day, if not every day, like that I find that is enough to kind of keep the cadence and keep like the strength. Just like trying to keep it in the routine. And then once I have that practice, then I can call back to things like if thoughts come in, I found something that's helpful is just naming the thought. It's like, okay, we're just thinking right now. It's like, okay, we're doing something not, and just like naming it, and then that kind of calms it down. That's been a very helpful practice lately. But again, it's just practicing those things, and it's like training.
Yeah, just identifying what that voice is.
Yes.
When it's like, oh man, like your training's gonna suck today. This is gonna throw you off. You miss a meal or something because you're doing. Oh man, it's like don't let that cascade continue to affect everything else in your day. And you have to it's number one's awareness, And then, but awareness isn't enough. After awareness, you actually have to have something to intercept it. And I really like the identifying or naming it. Like, whoa, no, that's old Rich, or that is this thing. Like, identify it. That's not actually what's going on here. Because at the end of the day, man, if you sit still long enough, you realize most of your mind is just a monkey banging on shit. If you're just, and that's why even just sitting hard for 10 minutes is so difficult for so many people, because you just sit there and you're just like, oh shit, it's just me and my own thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's just the random, the meme of the whole band going and the crazy dancing. It's just a monkey banging on
And
shit.
it'll just lead to it's just like the next
So do
piece
you have like what is the actual adjunct? Is it do you pause? Do you take a breath? Like, what does it look like? Like, identifying it's one thing, but then how do you regain control of your physiology after
Yeah, right. Okay. Like, I will name it, and then I will. What's helpful for me is breath. Is where I end up going. Body can be effective too, if it is like kind of relaxing doing scans. But usually for me, it's breath, and going somewhere like paying attention to like audio around too. Like if there's white noise, if there's whatever, just like the ambient noise to me can kind of take me out of my head and kind of move me to like my surroundings to make me feel like understand like where I am. So that's like the other practice that I'll do is like hearing outside of my brain.
Yeah, we in the military and the way we train is like staying external. We had a class this morning, super hard little EMOM, and it's like, hey, you can be sitting there in your mind feeling sorry for yourself, but it's like focus on the task. Like stay out of your head. Keep your eyes open up your periphery, like bring that nervous system back down. And it always comes back to breath, dude. It always comes back to breath.
Super helpful for performance as well, because like and especially in something like HYROX, right, where it's long and it's one piece. So if things start to spiral, like it can really get out of hand. But if you can like name it, stay present, stay focused. A lot of times it is form-based, skill-based, like making sure that you are like executing your plan. You can come to a mantra, whatever you have to like combat that like fight. Like, oh man, this is what always happens to me. So I always do it. Like, I knew this was gonna happen.
That
like,
narrative is self-destructive, man.
You can't like if you let it go, you can't. You
But
just like
you're allowing external consequences or external stimulus to dictate your physiology. And whether it's, dude, again, I've competed in CrossFit, strongman, powerlifting, OCR, ultra, and I've coached all of these as well. And even when I've had athletes go off to HYROX, if they get one penalty, yeah, obviously that's going to throw off your time, but don't let it throw you off your game. Mm-hmm. When athletes in CrossFit would have a bad judge, rather than just taking the no rep, they stop and they start fighting the judge. And HYROX, obviously we know that they've had some equipment challenges and stuff like that. Dude, it's like, just put your head down and keep going. Don't let that influence the effort you're going to put into it. Because that, as soon as you start focusing on external elements, it just starts throwing you off. And now that frustration starts to build up. And look at what that does to your physiology. Heart rate goes up. Like there's this whole kind of shit sandwich physiological cascade that happens as soon as you start kind of feeling sorry for yourself.
And you have no shot.
Yep.
and then it's over.
Yeah, and that's where I think going back to the team sport athlete versus individual athlete, how has your self-talk changed? Because obviously HYROX, and I haven't done a HYROX specifically, but I imagine when you go, you're with the dogs. It's you guys. You're not out there with the rest of the crew, right? You guys are your own thing.
Like, yeah, probably 75% of the time.
75% of the time. So what does that look like as far as the self-talk? If you have a strategy when you go into HYROX, right? You're not obviously doing it random. What does that look like, the self-talk? How are you moderating, staying in a good headspace? And not only in competition, but dude, like when I'm watching you work out, dude, the workouts that I've seen you do by yourself those aren't really fun workouts to do solo. So what does your self-talk look like? How are you staying and making sure you're putting in maximum effort and maximum attention into both competition and in training, especially when it's so easy to beat yourself up when you're fatigued and tired and newborn? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, you can just keep beating this down. It's like, it's process for both really. Like in training in particular, right? It's like it's process progression. Last time I did this, so the goal is to exceed that. So it's like leading up to this moment of just like where you're going to be a little less comfortable, into the unknown a little bit more. And that's like the whole point of the entire workout, is taking it to this spot. So one, you can get that mental training, that mental taxing, and then like come out and feeling like, oh, okay, I did it. And also that's where the physical adaptations really start popping. When you get into that place, it's a little bit further than you've gone before. From that training, moving that into like the race, it's like, okay, I know what I'm capable of. So if I just execute the way that I can, and then if I do that to a certain point, then I can compete. But like if I come out here and just try to like blow the doors off this thing, like that is not a viable way for me to compete right up front. So it is just process. Like I know what this run's going to be. I know what this sled push can be. I know how many lunges it takes to do like a length, and just like staying in that moment is really helpful, so that the moment doesn't get too big, so that the competition doesn't have an effect on what I'm trying to do out there. So it all is just like tied together that way, but it does start from process and progression during training.
Yeah, so are you reverse engineering? And what I mean by, with all of my goals, I reverse engineer. If I have a big deadlift I want to pull, get the calendar out, and I have 16, 24 weeks. And then you just, when you look back, you're like, oh, like this is chunked out week by week. If I put all my attention and focus into this workout today, it's going to set me up for next week. And then by the time it's a waiting game. If you just eat, sleep, take your Hulkamania vitamins, do your thing, get hydrated, all of that, like it's only a matter of time. You've walked this path so many times that like this goal, it's kind of already in, it's
already done.
It's already done. You just it's just a game of patience at that point, right? So when you approach your HYROX and you're trying to improve your times, are you reverse engineering a time and then chunking that out into, okay, if this is the goal, these are my biggest weaknesses, these are the ones to improve, everything else kind of stays the same because I'm good there. Are you reverse engineering those individual elements?
More or less.
Okay.
More or less. And like the nuances of HYROX, like it is always the same, but like it's always the same, kind of like how a marathon's always the same, where like you run a marathon, the Colorado Marathon starts at 7,000 feet, and versus Chicago, which is sea level, like it's the same distance. It's not the same race. The outcome is going to be different. Yeah. HYROX is similar to that. Like they just haven't really dialed in like the format. Every course is like a little bit different, turns here or there, like the way that things set up. So when it comes to time, I kind of throw that out the window. It is more like how I want to perform against the competition, more or less. Like that is my proxy, or versus what I previously done and what I think I'm capable of. But yes, it is very much like I haven't necessarily been able to figure out how to dial it all the way in to be like, to have it on the calendar and be like, if I do all of these things, I can get here. It's more like I have this much time. So if I start here, I can end up with this much work. It's really about trying to maximize the amount of work and what that is going to do for the result, as opposed to like, here's the result that I want. How do I get there? So yeah, it is more just like, how can I manage the load, the intensity? Where am I going to kind of put things in places? What kind of accessory things am I going to do to get me to this place where I feel like I can outperform where I previously was?
Sure. So what things have changed? How many years have you been doing HYROX now?
It came to the States in 2019, then 2020 happened, and then 2021 it opened back up. So 2021, April.
Okay. So it's not like you were young and you're like a lot of people who are getting into CrossFit now are in their 20s. They're let's fucking go, teens, and they're just hammering hard. So I don't want to look at this from like what's changed from your 20s to now, but obviously what has changed in your training between first getting into it, but you already had an incredible aerobic base, you were a runner, so the emphasis was on some slightly different things. But what has changed in your training and your approach from when you started this years ago to now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When I came into it, because I had a little bit of CrossFit background, or I mean, at that point I've been doing it for like 10 years. So I had CrossFit, but I was doing the OCR thing, but running was always the backbone. And where my like education is in endurance. So I basically tried to apply everything that I knew about running and just like plop it into HYROX. And the way that it's changed since then is HYROX is a unique event, and it needs to be trained that way.
Sure.
So understanding what the demands of this race, what it feels like, what it means physiologically, how to create those adaptations, and not just being set in like, this is how it's done in powerlifting, this is how it's done in endurance, and just like trying to just place what I thought I knew onto it, is being open to what this event is. So really making it a lot more about like training to be a HYROX athlete as opposed to a runner doing HYROX.
Sure. Wildly different approach. Yeah.
So like what that means, like in terms of nuts and bolts, right? Like I would do my running by itself, and then I would do like whatever machines by itself. I would do like, and then I would have like HYROX work. Now it all is kind of the same thing. I used to try to do everything interval based. Like, okay, I'm going to do whatever 5 by 5 with however much rest. now everything is big and long because it is an hour-long event, right? Like, it's really not about, like, it's getting to the point where the output matters, like how fast you can do things, but it's like how much can you endure? And that has been the main shift, is like putting in these big pieces, like you mentioned, like I just sit on the assault bike for freaking an hour, and like that is something that moves the needle more than doing 5x5 when running, you know? So just like understanding the demands from the experience that I've had doing, I think, almost 30 races now, and just like,
30 races.
It's
man,
we're doing things. I'm like, that's what's been really fun, right? Is like that there is still nuance, and there's ways that I'm learning more and more about it, even though it's like the exact same thing every single time, and just like kind of trying to develop. And I mentioned kind of like the thought leadership thing, and really kind of stepping into that, where in the past I would like try to find a resource. I'd be like, there's got to be a book on how to get faster for a marathon.
Yeah.
I'll read it, and then I'll just apply those principles, and I'll be like, oh, that was great. Like, now I'm trying to be like, what are all these things? How do I understand this? Everything else that I've learned as a fitness professional, as an athlete, how can I kind of create something that I believe in and that I want to like test?
Yeah.
So that's been like the main shift, I would say.
I mean, that's kind of the endless game, right? As a coach, is I have this thing where it's like, you don't, like, knowledge isn't yours to, we read books now, Instagram, everything. We have all this information readily at our hands. And we see people on social media, they read a book, they're like, oh, this is rad. And then they chat GPT it and they do a post on it. But there's a difference between knowledge and understanding.
Yep.
And imitating before you innovate. And so I think for me as a coach, this endless game, and this will kind of maybe some imposter syndrome type stuff comes in here. I don't really think that's a thing. But all of this knowledge you've accumulated, like at some point you just kind of stop reading books, trust your gut, and then you take all of the elements from your CrossFit background, your aerobic background, but ultimately you're making it uniquely yours. And so as a coach, what does that expression look like now? Because there's Rich Ryan, the athlete, but you're also coaching a lot of athletes, right? So what does that look like? What is your take from all the knowledge you've gained? What is kind of your overarching theme and philosophy as a coach? In approach to HYROX, and that can be if you're brand new versus a competitor, how are you building athletes with this progression and hopefully getting them to love and appreciate progression? How are you doing that as a coach?
Specifically for HYROX?
Yeah. Or for you also just do running as well, right?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's all HYROX.
Then there you go.
People are just into it. So when it comes to HYROX, like the philosophy that I'm working on now, and because it is going to change for sure, is a couple years ago I was, again, just banging at these things, and things weren't working the way that I thought it was. Like that, the amount of work that I was putting in was not translating into the course, and I was spreading out the amount of intensity that I was doing. So like I was just doing intensity way more frequently, and that could have been multiple sessions of intensity in a day or spread out across the week. And I was just like under recovering. I just like felt like I was doing all these things, trying to get better, spinning these plates, trying to make it all work. So really I've condensed the amount of intensity that I do into like bigger doses. I feel like the biggest indicator for HYROX success is how much you can hold at that like anaerobic threshold, like your zone 4. Is really that line that is like the fastest you can go for the longest amount of time. Something you like if you're running a race, it'd be somewhere like that 45 minute to like an hour range, like a 10 miler to like it's really a half marathon for some, but like to like 10K, right? Like that type of like running output. How much we can sustain that, how well you can do that through the stations, that's going to be the key indicator of success for me. And then how fast you can become while staying just slightly under that threshold, which will like right before you explode with fatigue. So that has been the major shift. Is I was thinking about when I felt like I wasn't experiencing the success in the course that I thought I should have been. I was like, there's got to be like a smarter way to do this. And so then I turned to like some metrics, like heart rate, and just like understanding where I'm at during what kind of output I am expressing during my workouts, and then just kind of stacking that and then tracking that. So tracking zone 4 and just like really doing that in a linear progression, like starting at 20 minutes a week, building to, the next week you do 30, and then you just build to this point where you're doing 60 to 100 minutes at zone 4. Then when you get to that race, like you are able to understand where that line is and how to sit there and what that pace feels like. It's pretty foreign for a lot of athletes who come in who might not have a distance running background, and even distance runners, like my background was the mile and the steeplechase, which is they're like, 4 minutes to 8 minutes. Like that is not anaerobic threshold. You are beyond.
Yeah.
So I didn't even really know what that felt like. And I was a distance runner. I was like running like 80 miles a week and still just like didn't have like a great understanding of what this like longer piece of sustained output feels like. So if you're coming in without endurance, you have no idea what that pace feels like.
Yeah.
Right. So like the pacing, understanding where that is going to be like the most important thing.
So what advice would you have for people? Because obviously we have a very diverse population who's being drawn to HYROX. We can't get into the nuances if you're strong, if you're coming out from a strength background or endurance background. But what advice do you have for people who are just genuinely curious, or they might be getting to their first HYROX? Or what would you say to people who are currently looking to get into the space as far as how to approach their first HYROX? Like just a handful of things, how they should perceive it, how they should train for it. I'll give you mine specifically when I have people do their first HYROX. I just want it to be a purely learning experience. I don't care about the time because there's a hierarchy of, you have to learn how, the way my approach is, you have to learn how to train, right? Then you have to train to train. Then you have to learn how to compete, train to compete, compete to compete. That's the hierarchy I use. So a lot of people when they first get into it, they're like, I'm gonna go hard in the pain. It's like, no, we wanna show up and wanna learn because there's so many skills, game day nutrition. So, sleep, travel. I've had people who show up at like 11 p.m. the night before their HYROX. I'm like, no, that's not how you compete. It's kind of amateur hour stuff. So what advice would you have to somebody who's signing up or either interested to sign up for their first HYROX or is already signed up for it? What advice do you have for that crew?
Yeah, no, like the way you laid it out, like that's the best way to do it. It's like, hey, this first one, it's not going to go how you want. Like you're either going to, more likely you're going to go too hard and you're going to blow up after burpee broad jumps or during burpee broad jumps, or you're going to be too conservative. You're going to finish like and feel like you had more to express. Either way, like you said, learning should be the main goal in that first one. Then you can take how that felt, where you're strong, where you weren't strong, put it into training. Just like that hierarchy makes a ton of sense. From a training standpoint, I think the intensity needs to be more like intentional, and the aerobic work needs to be taken a little more seriously.
Sure.
Where it might be kind of like throwaway day, where it's like spending a long time just working in zone 2. Your heart rate is just like fairly low. It's conversational pace. Like that is something that if you are serious about like competing in this long term, like that foundation is something you need to start now because it will just be built and built and built. And then once you build that up, then you can really start to train harder and train for longer doses and be able to do everything a little bit better. And that's where most people are going to be lacking, right? So it's pretty cliche and it's pretty boring, but it's like spend time zone 2 aerobic. Doesn't have to be just running. Probably shouldn't be just running because running is pretty destructive for most people. But just like figuring out ways to spend more time in zone 2.
Yeah, and if it's something that people are, I like that approach of, you're going to be building the foundation, but your first one is a stepping stone for the second, so you have to just continue to build that foundation throughout. Do you recommend people going for the first one, like do a huge peaking phase or anything crazy, or just like, hey, I want you to have, number one, you're going to have the best time out there, pay attention, build some awareness, and I'm a fan of have a strategy and stick to it. Whether it was the right plan or not, right plan or strategy, doesn't matter. What's important is you stick to it. Because if you go off the rails on your strategy, then I would have athletes who would get on a row where they'd see somebody going faster, so now they're off their pace time. I always tell people, stick to this game plan. And then if it was a wrong game plan, that's one thing. But if you fuck up the game plan, you go off the rails, there's less to learn.
We're losing
feedback, right? Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of having your first one just be your stepping stone for your second one. Like that's almost just part of your training phase. Like we're going to build this base throughout. Then you're going to go learn some shit in a weekend, right? But then we're going to just continue to build for your second one. What about, how do you think about that approach?
The cliche coach answer, right? It depends.
Yeah, of course.
It depends on who you are, right? Like there are people that we're coaching on our app who it's their first time. They've never even heard of HYROX. They just found us and they're just like, I want to make sure I'm as prepared as possible. If I'm going to do something, I want to like show up because that just will like ease my angst and just makes me feel like I'm like can go there and just like be confident. Other people are like, hey, let's just let it ride. Let's just have fun with this. So I think it depends on like your personality for that. But like, yeah, even if you do follow a 12-week all the way up and through, like the chances of it going well on race day are pretty low.
Yeah.
Right. So there's only so much you can do, even if you're watching all the YouTube videos, trying to be like real specific on the skill. You're going to see things out there, and there's just going to be the way that the course kind of moves, and we got to navigate everything. You're just going to screw it up. So yeah, I think the amount of pressure and something from a coaching philosophy, like a mentor of mine a while ago kind of instilled in me, is like having an appropriate timeline is going to be ultimately what's going to lead you to success. And when you come in with these big expectations, you probably will bail before you can really express what you're fully capable of, because like you feel like you just don't have it, when you really just have like kind of given up on yourself a little bit too early.
Sure.
So I think yes, like just like reducing pressure, just going in there, gathering information, and then coming out, because like you want to be the best athlete you can be in HYROX in 5 years, not in 5 weeks, not in 5 months.
Yeah. So what advice, and we're going to be wrapping up here, dude, time flies.
Nice.
What advice would you have for somebody who maybe wants to do HYROX but doesn't think they can? Because they see you guys out there on the stage, you guys are crushing, you guys are all jacked. What advice do you have for somebody who's interested in it, but potentially maybe they don't believe in themselves enough to actually punch a ticket?
Yeah, these are my favorite people who go out there and are just like, this is such an accomplishment, because it is hard. Like I think we take it for granted sometimes, because it is just like we're really headfirst into the competition side, right? And it's just like the results are just like what seemingly matters the most. But like lose track of how hard this event really is, right? So it is going to be like any big challenge. Just like the advice I give, it's hard. You have to prepare. If you're not willing to prepare for something or make a change in your habits and lifestyle, like yeah, you probably won't be able to do it. But if you want to really see what it's like to commit to something, and you see how it is, and you want to experience this incredible challenge, then just like sign up. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. Like doubles is a really good entry point. Like, and then there's a little bit of camaraderie there. The open weights are something that is still very, very challenging, but doable for a lot of people. So I would say, yeah, like sign up, find community. Find places like Arsenal, places that do have the classes there that you can kind of get around people who are in a similar spot as you, and you'll see that like you're probably a little bit more capable than you think, and that I think would be probably the best bet. Just like getting around people, finding the community, and then just like learn as much as you can.
Yeah, I'm a fan of say yes first and find out how second.
Yeah, right.
So what my advice for anybody is, if you're absolutely curious about any of this, just find one that's 12 to 16 weeks out or later on in the year, and just put pen to paper. And the moment you take away that indecision of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like, oh, I don't know, I kind of want to do it, just say yes. Just commit to the thing, and the amount of resourcefulness, how that shifts your habits, even some identity, your capability, how that shifts that. Like you become incredibly resourceful the moment you commit to something. All right, so that'd be my piece of advice is if you guys are interested in doing HYROX, any type of competition, guys, just get on the webpage, sign up for something, say yes, and then you'll find a community and a tribe of people who will help support you.
With HYROX, like you kind of have to. You can't sign up on a whim because they're selling out so fast.
Oh, geez,
like you need to be like on it. So like follow when it's going to go on sale. Follow it on Instagram. Just start to like absorb it a little bit, and then when it's ready, so you can strike on it.
Yeah. So as we start to wrap this up, so you're doing a lot of coaching as well. Do you have an app? Like what does your coaching process look like for athletes, and what type of athletes are you trying to attract, and what type of athletes can you help?
Yeah, it's honestly a little bit less coaching than I have done in the past. In the past, it was built up primarily on one-on-one remote coaching for performance, right? I found that I just like haven't been able to deliver the product and experience that I can like stand behind from a scalability standpoint. Sure. So like I had to back away from that in terms of one-on-one. So I don't do much one-on-one. I have a small group that I coach, which has been awesome because of community. And that's just like something that I found was so cliche and I like pushed back against for a while, but like community matters.
It's huge.
It's
much
huge. For just
it's
like
a force multiplier. Man.
It really is. Like it just compounds. Like everybody has the experience. It's incredible. We have an app that is community based as well. And again, because we found it to be so valuable that like seeing the stories from other people is enriches the experience and like helps people get better. So we have an app that is built out. We have like over a dozen HYROX specific programs. The coaches are on there, myself, and a couple of my coaches, Ryan Kent, Meg Jacoby. They are all on this app helping athletes along the way.
And what's the name of that app?
It's called RMR,
Okay.
RMR Training.
Okay.
And that's been the best avenue. It's been a really big community, and like it's great because when these races happen, you can like meet up in person.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
That's what we got going on now.
Hell yeah. I think I've actually seen the camps with Ryan Kent and Meg Jacoby. Yeah, it looks like a ton of fun, dude.
We did some
looks
in-person
like a ton
stuff.
of fun.
Yeah, I did some things here with Eric Hinman as well in Colorado and in Austin, and that's another just
Do you have anything coming up this year? Anything on the calendar?
with little baby. I've just said no to everything for a long time, so I don't really know how things are working out for a while. But I'm hoping we have something in the summertime here in Colorado because we held it here at Arsenal and over at Eric's spot, and then the Austin one was actually great too because it was his spot and that Squatch Fitness that's down
Nice. Yeah, Squatch is a vibe, dude.
It's cool,
Yeah,
man.
shout out to the people at Squatch. That's a
Austin in
blast.
general, it's a vibe for
Dude,
sure.
it is. Everybody there's like you work out, grab coffee. It's like the 24-hour operation. But dude, I feel like we could chat all day. We still have left so much on the table as far as some X's and O's of training stuff that we covered. So we're gonna have to jam out again at some point, dude.
sure.
Maybe we can get a little more technical. Where can people find you? Where can they find your coaching? When's your next race?
Yeah, best spots. YouTube is a really good avenue for me. Rich Ryan on YouTube, Rich Ryan 610 on Instagram. We have podcast, RMR Training Podcast, if you're more audio. So all those platforms. Next race is Phoenix. That is in 2 weeks from today.
Woo.
2 weeks from today. So that is a major, which is like their avenue to get into the World Championships for the elite division. So it's a big one for me. So it'll be a first race as a father.
Let's go,
Excited,
dude. That's
man.
awesome. Hell
It's
yeah.
gonna be cool. It's
Hell
gonna be
yeah.
really cool. So I'm very excited.
Cool. Well, dude, thank you so much for the training session today. I had a blast. Again, I feel like we could jam out on this all day. But we'll put all of his information in the show notes. Rich, really appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being a thought leader in this space because there's so many people getting into this right now that we need some people to look up to that are going to share the good principles, share the lessons on the way. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the time.
It. Super fun.
All right, brother. Yep. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, guys.